Good morning and welcome to the daily cyber briefing for Tuesday, the 11th of March. I'm Stephen Ridgway. Just a quick reminder, there is a Chrome update out. It addresses multiple high-risk security vulnerabilities, um, high-risk vulnerabilities in the V8 component, and out of bounds write in GPU. So definitely worth having a look to make sure that your version of Chrome is up to date, and that it's not sitting there saying restart in order to apply updates. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one. You might have spotted yesterday that there was a pretty significant outage in the X Twitter X platform. Musk is claiming it was a cyber attack, and it has been reported in some news sources that this is being blamed on a nation state or potentially on Ukraine. Well, I'm not sure quite how much evidence there is for either of those things. It turns out wasn't a particularly long-lasting DOS attack. A couple of spikes around 6 a.m. Eastern time and 10 a.m. Eastern time yesterday. Most likely not a concerted nation state attack against X, or if it was a rather failed one. Plenty of disruption during, at that particular time, but nothing long lasting. But it does show there is a potential that the things that you say and do as a leader in an organisation can have an impact on the threat landscape that your organisations have. So yeah, I think it's fair to say. I mean, Musk has always been a little bit of a controversial figure. However, at the moment, he's saying and doing things both domestically in the US and in relation to foreign policy from the US, which has made him deeply unpopular with all sorts of people, regardless of the rights and wrongs of what he's saying and doing. It is really only to be expected that there will be an increase in interest in all things associated with Musk, and some of that interest will be from groups with nefarious intent. The other end of the scale, apparently in the UK, there's been a massive sell-off of Teslas. People are busily putting their Teslas up for sale because they don't want to be associated with some of Elon's politics. Interesting how these things can affect what goes on in the real world. Anyway, look, so two things then. One is if you are reliant on X, hopefully it's all back up and working for you, but it's entirely possible it was a cyber attack against X. And secondly, just think about what you say, do, post, and whatever, and bear in mind the impact that can have on who is interested in you and your organisation and what they're liable to be doing. If you are concerned about these sorts of things, there are lots of ways you can get information, by the way, around who's interested in you and what are their most likely means of attacking you. At one end of the scale, there are the big players, which I'm not going to, because like I said before, we don't endorse anybody's products here, except our own, of course. Of course, we endorse those, yeah, obviously. But there are some very big players. Two in particular come to mind that will provide you the most detailed information you can possibly want, probably more than you could ever deal with. The other end of the scale, Earth Threat Actor Report will give you a pretty good idea about where you stand and who is likely to be interested in you and what are they likely to be doing. And as you said before, if you cover off the basics, if you hit that 80%, which 80% of cyber is relatively straightforward to deal with. The other 20% is really extremely difficult. But if you cover off that 80%, you've got to think about how likely are you to be targeted by the 20% that is particularly difficult to deal with. Anyway, worth thinking about. Finally, then, from me today. Yesterday, it follows on from what we were talking about yesterday around what happens to AI LLM models if you train them on dodgy data. Well, an article I came across this morning is talking about the fact that the actual data sets that are used, or there are various data sets, but there's one in particular which is very large and very commonly used. It's called the Common Crawl data set. It has been collecting publicly available data off the web since 2008. It's free to use. It is petabytes of data. I don't know exactly how much, but petabytes worth of data, covering literally billions of web pages. In that data, there are over 12,000 legitimate working secrets, as in things like API keys, usernames, passwords, other bits and pieces. Now, so there's two sides to why this matters. The first one being OpenAI, DeepSeek, Google, Meta, Anthropic, Stability, others will have been trained on the Common Crawl dataset because it's probably the biggest open source database that's out there for training LLMs. As is pointed out in this article, these organizations generally sanitize the data rather than letting AI loose on the raw data. Now, the reason that they do that is because they are looking to remove inaccurate, misleading, confidential information that may have been scooped up as part of this. Well, that's all well and good, but it relies on the company that is doing the training to sanitize the data, as far as I can see. What happens if it's not sanitized? AI is then going to be trained on a whole load of stuff which could be wholly inaccurate or wholly inappropriate for it to be trained on. And the other side is it's very difficult to, when you've got a database that big, to completely sanitize things. As they've demonstrated, over 12,000 legitimate secrets that are testable and still work. Stuff hard coded. Legitimate API keys hard coded into all sorts of things, MailChimp, Amazon Web Services, and so on and so forth. Excuse me. So, a couple of things then. One is be aware this stuff's out there. And the second thing is, let's think about what we're doing when we're training AI models, and I think definitely keep this on your worry list. Okay, that's all from me. Suffering from a nasty cough brought on by my heart meds. Oh well, never mind. Hope you have a good Tuesday, and I'll speak to you all again tomorrow.